enrich our understanding of the conventional and ultimate. The 400, like the Treatise on the Middle Way and many other great Indian basic or root texts, is written in an extremely terse style. The stanzas of the Tibetan version have 4 lines each consisting of 7 syllables. In many cases some of these 7 syllables only serve to preserve the meter and do not affect the meaning. This characteristic terseness gives the texts a flexibility and ambiguity which permits many interpretations. Tibetan scholars compare their elasticity to that of a musk deer's skin, which can be stretched this way and that. Occidental scholars frequently find this ambiguity a source of frustration and search for a definitive meaning. Oriental scholars can more easily accommodate such a variety of interpretations since they take into consideration the different purposes which such interpretations might serve. Terse and strongly negative statements, which abound in Nagarjuna's and Aryadeva's work, speak of having no view, no position, or claim that a thing or the self does not exist. These are open to misconstruction and indeed have been misconstrued in that the Madhyamika position is regarded as a nihilist philosophy by scholars who take these statements literally. The commentaries, however, elucidate their true meaning.
Gyel-tsap's Life the 400 together with Candrakirti's commentary on it was translated into Tibetan by the great translator Gyel-tsap Nymadrak, Gyel-tsap Nymagrags, in collaboration with Suksmajana. According to the Blue Annals, Gyel-tsap Nymadrak was born in 1055. In the upper district of Gyel-tsap in Penyul, Phon Yul, in central Tibet. As a young man, he braved the long and arduous journey to Kashmir and remained there for 23 years, first becoming thoroughly conversant with the Sanskrit language, then studying the Buddha's teaching and translating works by the great Indian Buddhist masters. Among the illustrious teachers with whom he studied were Sajjana's 2 sons, one of whom was Suksmajana. Gyel-tsap Lotsa's greatest contribution lies in his translation and revision of a number of seminal Madhyamika texts. He translated Nagarjuna's 60 stanzas of reasoning and revised a translation of his treatise on the Middle Way. He also revised a translation of his precious Garland of Advice for the King. Of Candrakirti's works, in addition the commentary on the 400, Gyel-tsap also translated supplement to Nagarjuna's Treatise on the Middle Way, the auto-commentary on the supplement and Clear Words, commentary on Treatise on the Middle Way. The first 2 of these he initially translated with the Indian scholar Tilakakalasa and the third with Mahasumati. After his return to Tibet, Gyel-tsap revised all 3 translations with Kanakavarman when the Pundit visited Tibet at Gyel-tsap's invitation.
Gushe Sha'arawa, Dage Beshes Sha'araba. One of the great Gadambiya, BKA Adams Pa masters, sent many of his students to Gyel-tsap to study Madhyamika. Gyel-tsap and his 4 closest students, known as the 4 sons of Gyel-tsap, did much to establish the Prasanjika Madhyamika system in Tibet. Gyel-tsap also taught the Guhya Samaja Tantra extensively and revised Rinchen Zangbo's, Rinchen Zangpai translation of an important commentary on it by Nagabodhi with which he felt dissatisfied. One of the first works Gyel-tsap translated after his return to Tibet was a commentary on Vashabandhu's Treasury of Knowledge, by Purnavardhana. He also translated Nagarjuna's essay on the Mind of Enlightenment, and a number of other works on Tantra. Of the works by Atissa, who was active in Tibet just before Gyel-tsap's birth, he translated the Great Compendium of Sutra. Along with Mudita Re, he also revised a substantial part of Candrakirti's commentary on Nagarjuna's 70 stanzas on emptiness. The exact date of Gyel-tsap's death is unknown, but it was probably in the 2nd decade of the 12th century. Contemplating the lives of the great translators, one marvels that they undertook the difficult journey from Tibet to India, in a number of cases even several times. Not only was the journey fraught with hazards, but the climate and conditions to which they had to accustom themselves were very different from those of their own country. Many aspiring translators who set out for India died far from home. The contribution to Tibetan civilization of those who survived is unequaled. Their thirst for knowledge of Sutra and Tantra and of the commentaries by the great Buddhist sages of India, which they could not acquire in Tibet, and their determination to then make that knowledge available to others through translation and teaching cannot fail to move and inspire the modern reader.
Candrakirti's commentary. The only Indian commentary on the 400 which was translated into Tibetan is Candrakirti's comprehensive commentary on the 400 stanzas on the yogic deeds of bodhisattvas, upon which all the Tibetan commentaries are based. Candrakirti, who is thought by most Western scholars to have lived in the 7th century, mentions other earlier commentaries on Aryadeva's text. He criticizes a commentary by Dharmapala which divides the text into two distinct parts, pointing out that to do so ignores the fact that the two truths are interconnected and integral parts of a whole. Candrakirti further criticizes this commentary as a misinterpretation for its explanation of Aryadeva's text from a Siddhamatra standpoint, since to Candrakirti it is self-evident that Aryadeva's philosophical position accords with Nagarjuna's and is thus Madhyamika. Candrakirti's explanation of the text uncompromisingly presents the Prasanjika Madhyamika position that phenomena do not have intrinsic or objective existence of any kind but are entirely dependent on other factors. The very core of the Praisarjika system concerns the compatibility of dependent arising and lack of inherent existence. Although things are utterly unfindable when subjected to scrutiny regarding their fundamental nature, this in no way impairs their ability to function. Indeed, it permits them to function. When the ultimate, the emptiness of things, is understood correctly, it supports the presentation of the conventional, dependently arising phenomena, and when the conventional is understood correctly as meaning that which arises in dependence on other factors, it supports the understanding that things which arise in such a way necessarily lack inherent existence.
In his commentary, Candrakirti explains that the analogies which illustrate every stanza of the first 8 chapters and which he elucidates are drawn from an earlier commentary by the master Dharmadesa, of whom little is known. These vivid and unusual analogies frequently reveal the seamier side of ancient Indian life. Dzongkabye, Dzongka Pabielo Bzangrags Pa, cites Candrakirti's commentary on the 400 many times in his great exposition of the stages of the path and clearly considered it and the 400 as texts of major importance.
Tibetan commentaries on the 400. Commentary to Aryadeva's 400 verses. By Rendawa, Red Nda Biegzon Nu Bielo Gro, is the earliest available commentary on the 400 by a Tibetan author. It is a lucid and concise commentary which omits Dharmadesa's analogies. Rendawa does not always qualify the object of refutation as clearly as does Gyel-tsap, nor does he give as great importance to the establishment of conventional truths. Since Rendawa was Gyel-tsap's teacher, it is possible that Gyel-tsap had access to this commentary and chose to stress points which he felt required more attention, at the same time presenting the material in a different format. Rendawa concentrates on the meaning of the text, closely following Candrakirti's presentation. He is not as intent as Gyel-tsap on summarizing the arguments and formulating them according to the dialectic code. There are instances where Rendawa's interpretation is at variance with Gyel-tsap's more usual version of the Praisarjika system based on Candrakirti's works. For example, in his commentary on Stanza. Chapter 12, Rendawa says that on seeing reality, nirvana is made manifest. He further specifies that from the path of seeing onwards the meditative equipoise of the exalted constitutes nirvana with remainder. The reason he gives is that to the exalted in meditative equipoise the characteristics of products such as the aggregates do not appear, whereas nevertheless the meditator's aggregates do appear to an observer and have not ceased. Nirvana without remainder is achieved when that exalted person dies and attains a mental body in a pure land. According to the more usual interpretation, a unique feature of the Prasanjika presentation is that nirvana without remainder is attained before nirvana with remainder. With and without remainder are taken to refer to remaining appearances of true existence. Thus, during meditative equipoise on emptiness, an exalted person does not perceive any appearance of true existence, whereas in the subsequent period such appearances are once more present.